We're going to look at finding percentages now without a calculator. What we're going to do is we're always going to base percentages on 10%, 5%, and 1%. And so what we're going to be able to do is find different combinations of percentages. For example, if you wanted to find 20%, you would find 10%, another 10%, and then you'd add those together to get 20%. If you wanted to find 16%, you would find a 10%, a 5%, and a 1%. You add those things together and you end up with 16%. So what we're going to do to find 10% is we are going to move the decimal one place to the left. Again, you probably should be taking notes with this. Again, to find 10%, we are going to move the decimal one place to the left. And we're going to look at examples here in just a little bit, but I just want to get all these down first. So that's how we find 10%. To find 5%, what we are going to do is we're going to find 10% and we're going to cut it in half. So for example, if you look at 5% comparing it to 10%, 5% is half of 10%. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to find 10% and then we're going to cut it in half. And then finally here, we are to find 1%. We are going to move the decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, so 1%, we're going to move the decimal 2 places to the left. All right, so we're going to look at some examples right here. So to find 10%, all right, we're going to find 10% here, and we are going to do it by finding 10% of $21.48. So we're going to start this looking at like tipping waiters and waitresses, finding discounts and things like that. So to find 10%, if you look back, what you want to do is you want to move the decimal one place to the left. All right, so when you do that, you end up with 2.148. All right, now we're talking about money right here, okay? So what we want to do after we do this is money only goes to the penny, in other words, the hundredths place, right? So we're talking about right here. Well, I've got a number outside of that to the right, so I got to see, does this number affect, all right, that hundredths place at all? So in this case, we're going to look at rounding. So this 8, in other words, is 5 or larger, so that means we need to round this, and so our final answer for 10% becomes $2.15. That right there is how you find 10%. We just simply move the decimal one place to the left. Okay? And we're going to look at another example here. We're going to find 5% of 21.48. So the first thing it asks us to do over there is we first of all want to find 10% first. Once we find 10%, we can take that and cut it in half. So again, I know this is the same number, all right? We know the answer from the previous slide. But I want to, again, find 10% first. So I slide the decimal one spot to the left. I end up with 2.148. To review, again, we're going to round this right away. All right. So this is going to go ahead and make that 4 become a 5. So we end up with 2.15. Now, what I want to do to find 5%, again, I'm not done. I want to find 5%. What I need to do is I need to cut this in half. So I need to find half of $2.15. Now, some of you can do that very quickly in your head, all right, because it's a smaller number. But when the numbers get a little larger, it becomes a little bit more difficult. So what I want to do is use that same approach we've been doing in the past with our addition and subtraction and thinking about this from a left to right perspective. Okay, so I just want to cut these in half, and I'm going to cut them in half from left to right. So what I want to do is I want to say, what is half of $2? Well, half of $2 is $1. Okay. What is half of 10 cents? Half of 10 cents is 5 cents. Okay, and then what is half of 5 cents? All right, now this is hard because you can't cut a penny in half. So what we end up with is we end up with 0.025, and that idea of 2.5 cents we can't do. Can't cut a penny in half. So we're going to look at this rounding idea again here and say this number to the third decimal place, the thousandths place, is not needed when in terms of money. So this 5 is going to actually make this 2 become a 3. Okay? So that's how that's going to work. And what I need to do with those is I then need to add these together. So I end up with $1.08, and that right there is how you can find 5%. Now some of you may be wondering, well, $1.08, that's not half of $2.15. $1.08 is half of $2.16. Yes, I do know that, but again, we can't take half a penny, so that's how this is going to work, okay? So again, that's how you find 5% right there. Going on to another one, we want to find 1% now. Okay, to find 1%, what we need to do is we need to move the decimal 2 places to the left. So we're going 1 spot and 2 spots. All right, so we write down what is there, 0.2, 1, 4, and then an 8. Okay, now what I say is we've got 4 places after the decimal here, so this whole thing, all right, does it do anything to this 1? Okay, and in this case, this is below 50. All right, so therefore, we're going to keep it just 21 cents. Okay, so 21 cents would be 1% of $21.48. Now, I have had some people in the past say, if you look at it this way, 0.2148, all right, that 8's going to make that 4 become a 5, right, if you round it, and then that 5 is going to affect that 1 and make that become a 2, okay? Yes, I do understand that as well. And there's going to be some room for rounding involved with this as well. But in this case, all right, this after fact is less than 50, so therefore it won't really affect that 1. Okay, let's look at one more example here. And now we're going to look at an example where we got some combinations here. So 16% of $17.43. So how do you find 16%? Well, if you take a 10%, a 5%, and a 1%, and you add those together, you end up with 16%. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we're first of all going to go in and we're going to find 10%. Okay, so for 10%, we're going to go ahead and say we're going to move the decimal 1 spot to the left. So I end up with 1.743. And again, I have to ask myself, is this 3 going to affect that 4 in rounding? And the answer is no. So we end up with $1.74. That is 10%. Okay, so there's that one. We then need to go ahead and find 5%. Well, how do we find 5%? We need to find half of 10%. So I'm going to take this $1.74 here, and I am going to cut it in half to find 5%. So what is half of $1? It's 50 cents. What's half of 70 cents? 35 cents. And then what's half of 4 cents? 2 cents. Now notice, be very careful as I wrote these. Notice how I kept the place values where they're supposed to be so we don't end up messing these numbers up. Okay, so the answer for this one is 87 cents. And this right here is then 5%. We finally need to finish out. All right, I'll label that right there as well. We then need to finish out and say, well, what is 1%? Now be very careful that you're finding 1% of the original number and not 1% of these other numbers here, which is something that some people do in the past as a mistake. So we want to go ahead for 1%. We want to move it 2 decimal places to the left. So I end up with 0.1743 in this case. And again, this is not determined with money. Okay, so we're taking it to the 100th place, the penny. So this 43 is not going to affect that 7 because it's not 50 or larger. So we end up with 17 cents. So what I need to do in the end is I need to take my 10% of $1.74. I need to take my 5% of 87 cents, and I need to take my 17 cents, which was the 1%, and add all of these things together. Okay, so I end up with $1 going left to right. I have $1 here, $1.70, $1.70 plus 80 cents. We're at $2.50. $2.50 plus 10 cents. We're at $2.60. $2.67. $2.67 plus 7 is $2.74. $2 and, in this case, 78 cents should be my final answer. Okay, so that's how you're going to go ahead and find 16% in this example.